You definitely heard about this. But you might have missed the actual issue that MPs were supposed to be dealing with, a new law on medical assistance in dying.
Order! Order!
The fight over Trudeau's actions stalled the legislation. And what does that mean?
I don't know. This is uncharted waters.
In February 2015, the Supreme Court said physician-assisted death ought to be legal and gave Parliament a year to pass a law. The new Liberal government got a 4-month extension on that deadline. Now it's June 6th. In those 4 months, Canadians have been able to ask a provincial judge for special permission for a doctor-assisted death.
That ends on June the 6th. And so we don't have that judicial safeguard. We don't have any of the safeguards that are in the bill. It is concerning.
Even if you look at the fastest scenario, the soonest this legislation could get through the House of Commons is the last day of May. After that, it has to go to the Senate. Senators could make changes, and that whole process could take weeks.
I hope that the Senate sees the urgency that we do.
Because the government has put in a process that simply didn't work, we're not going to meet the June 6th deadline. There's no doubt of that.
So what happens if there's a period with no new law?
Legal chaos. Unintended consequences will flow, and very problematic deaths will flow.
Certainly not everyone agrees. Some argue it would be like the situation with abortion. The law banning it was struck down in 1988, and no new law replaced it. Others argue the focus should be on the bill itself and whether it strikes the right balance.
If we miss the deadline by 2 or 3 weeks, we're not that concerned. We think better to do the best job now.
Many think the law is too restrictive because it only applies to people whose death is, quote, reasonably foreseeable. They say it should apply to anyone who is suffering too much. The provincial groups that regulate doctors say they can manage for a while the government improves its plan.
Our view is we don't need to pass imperfect legislation at this time.
Now, if this law does get passed more or less as is, the issue could wind up in front of the Supreme Court again, facing yet another challenge. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.